Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody, all around the world, wherever you are, wherever you may be, hello and welcome to another episode of The Worshipper with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Let's make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We are back and we are here and we're live and we're shocked as we're starting out this show on Friday, on this Friday edition of The Worshipper. It's the championship rounds where you all control the whole of this conversation for whatever we want to discuss in the world of boxing or beyond. Y'all control the flow of the show. Y'all control everything that we discuss on our airways today. And I said that we're shocked and started the show because I was watching the weigh-in for Keyshawn Davis versus Albright, and this brother missed weight again into the Keyshawn Davis. Can you believe it? My goodness, like I said, normally on this show, we talk about the championship rounds every Friday, where you all control the flow of the conversation, you control the debates, the arguments, all the questions, comments, and all opinions that you want to have, you control this show. And we're going to also touch on Tank, we're going to touch on Shakur'S Stevenson, we're going to touch on Devin Haney, we're going to talk about Zuffa. All of that was going to be part of the overarching topics of conversation, as you saw in the Thomer. But lo and behold, now we have just breaking news right now that Keyshawn Davis has missed weight in the weigh-in yet again, and is 0.2 pounds over the 140-pound weight limit. Oh my Lord, this is the second time. This is the second time in his last 3 fights that he's missed weight. It wasn't nearly as egregious this time. He's got about an hour to lose it. That 0.2 or 0.1 pounds before, he can get back into it. He's probably going to be going into a sauna real quick. And we're going to be back in 2 hours to see how this goes. Probably by the end of the show, we're going to see if he makes weight or if his body potentially can't cut it. That brings up a whole another form of conversation about his tenure at 140. Does he need to just commit to 147? Was it a problem taking this fight with Albright in the first place instead of just definitively going up to a big weight class where his body would not have the same struggles that he's had at 135 and now at 140? Because while the discipline may be there, maybe the body just can't take it anymore. All of that and more we will be discussing on today's show. If you're just tuning in, hey, leave a like on the video. Go ahead and come on, get the likes up on our show, get the likes up on this stream. Push this show out to the algorithms all across the globe and tell people about this show by leaving a like, commenting your thoughts and opinions in the chat down below, like with Love King, who's already in the chat, starting off this whole show. We appreciate you being here. Subscribe to the channel. Come on and join the empire. Be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe. And do the 2 most important things, which is to, if you can support the channel, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, as well as Super Chat, Super Gifts, and stickers, and the like all through the dollar sign or the dollar button by the chat icon. If you can support any amount we're doing, it would mean the world to me, because you all fund this show. And be sure the other most important thing is to share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together, all with you and your support. Yes, sir, it takes an army to make an empire, and you all are that army. And the more people you can recruit and get into our community, our regime, our Welch Report empire that we're trying to build into a monolithic figure in the sports world, you all are going to be the backbone, and we'll be the backbone of our growth and our ability to shine throughout the masses of this world. No question about it. And we appreciate all of you being here with us. And hey, without further ado, we don't want to waste no more time. We got boxing to cover. We got sports to delve into. We got your voices to listen to, and we have the championship rounds to delve into. So let's get your thoughts out there. And it's time for the championship rounds, and it's time for us to step into the ring. Yes, sir. Let's get it popping. Come on. It's time to work. It's time to work. And let's go on and discuss the most recent, biggest news of the day is that Keyshawn Davis versus Albright, that fight, I believe it's still going to go on. But we just got some breaking news that Keyshawn Davis has missed weight in this weigh-in for this fight for the second time in his career. Oh, my goodness.
Hey, look at this.
We're shocked.
We got some problems here.
We're shocked, but should we be? We're shocked. Well, I'm shocked, but should we be shocked at this happenstance that's occurring? Because now, well, the fight already wasn't selling. Good. I can confirm that, yeah, the fight was not. But from our conversation yesterday, I can now confirm, yeah, it's true. That fight isn't selling great. The arena ain't packed out like people may have wanted it to be. Understandable. And even more than that, I don't want to say expectation, but the zeal of this fight, for many, ain't been there except for the fact that, we think Keyshawn would beat him. So already has his back behind the 8 ball, even after the biggest win of his career. We get that. People have been saying he needs a knockout. And now we see in this already strenuous situation of him trying to still keep his momentum alive, he goes through and misses weight against Albright. Now the further implications of the undisciplined nature, the wherewithal of him as a fighter to really be committed to this sport, all the talk about how I've changed my life, I've turned myself around and done all this stuff to make myself better, and we won't run into this again. Well, it happened again. Now, this time, I don't think it's his fault from the perspective of, I do believe he was disciplined. I do believe he was actually doing what he was supposed to do while he was training. At least it looked like it. And again, the threshold of he missed only 0.2 pounds overweight. It's not as egregious as, 6 pounds, 8 pounds that he missed in the fight with De Los Santos in the championship fight at 135. That was supposed to be his crowning moment in that division. It ain't that bad. It ain't that, oh my gosh, type of shock and awe. But it is an indictment that makes us ask, well, not just how did this happen, but was this the right move to even take this fight with Albright now? Because you're running into the same issue of you are struggling to make weight. You are struggling to hone yourself in at a division that is too small for you. Hypothetically. Yes, you look good against Jermaine Ortiz, but now, even though it's only your second fight in this division at 140, you just barely scrape it in. And we were talking about him fighting against Tank, Keyshawn fighting against Lomachenko yesterday, and the whole discussion surrounding the idea that he is a big guy, built in a way or fights in a way like with Terrence Crawford in some vague aspects, which I did agree with. But the frame of Keyshawn Davis made it the biggest weapon to why we could see him beat Lomachenko. For a lot of people, too young, too athletic, too long, too strong, with all the skills that he has. Well, that frame is exactly what I'm saying. That fight at 147 for Keyshawn Davis probably ain't going to be a thing with Kim versus Loma. Because now after this fight, he better not stay at 140. Because he's not going to fight Shakur. And he ain't looking to really egg on anybody else at 140 at this moment in time. He don't care about Dalton Smith. Crazy enough, he ain't really talking about that. He don't care about the likes of Gary Antoine Russell. He'll never fight Shakur, his words, because of the foul. Unless it's for $500 million. He did say, he did put a price on it. But he won't fight Shakur because they're brothers and whatnot. So at this point now, with this as the final nail in the coffin, well, it just seems like he's wasting his time up here at 135. Or excuse me, at 140. He's wasting his time. It seems like he's just wasting his time. And yes, the feud with Albright could have made for a very exciting, would and still will make for an exciting fight. The idea of him knocking out Albright, the revenge aspect, Albright potentially going through guns blazing because y'all beat him up in the locker room, all that, the story's there for a good fight. Understandable. But the proving of what this does for Keyshawn isn't really there. More than anything, now his stock has dropped as a result of taking this fight. His stock has, look at the reactions right now over social media, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, or any other boxing pundit, and I guarantee you, it is negative. more than negative, it is lambasting this man as an unreliable force in the world of boxing. A star that can't really hold his own. Legit. It has everybody now looking at Keyshawn Davis in the same way they were looking at him in the fight with De Los Santos. And it's almost the exact same story. De Los Santos was supposed to be not just the crowning moment, but a culmination of a litany of great fights, especially with Brinchick. And him going through, destroying everybody, looking like a killer, looking like an incredibly exciting fighter. Everybody looking up and saying, oh man, who's this brother? Oh my gosh. Hey, this man's a problem. This man's an issue. This brother got everybody up in arms, wanting to see what he can do. He's the bee's knees, as some old folks may say. He is one of the more exciting figures that has everybody clamoring to see how he grows up. And then right when he got to big time threshold, after achieving a big time circumstance, misses weight, loses out on the fight, loses out on the opportunity, and everybody calls this man a stain on the sport. He's got to get himself together. And the whole stock of his monetary value, his cachet, his marketability, it took a major blow from that. On top of what happened with the drama of his brothers. And now, still reeling from the drama that happened against Albright, still reeling from the drama that was him missing weight egregiously, he goes through, he beats Jermaine Ortiz, he has himself a dominant performance, everybody's looking at him and is all excited, and then the same thing after a big success happens again, he misses weight. And yes, even though it's only 0.2 pounds, it is still going to stick with him. The damage is done now for a lot of people. Here we go again. It's the same problem. The brother can't be disciplined. That's the moniker. There's always something with Keyshawn Davis. That's the moniker. Just like we talk about with the likes of Floyd Schofield. Every time he has a performance, getting ready for another big fight, is in position to do something great. What happens? Something awry. He gets sick, injured, or whatever the case may be, and stuff in the fight that we want to see doesn't happen. And now, oh man, he missed out on another opportunity. Here we go again. Now, that is a little bit different because again, sickness, different deal. But the stigma, I'm not blaming what's happening. I'm saying what's the result of the consistency of happenstances, what that does for the people and the fans that see this. They get a perception. They get a identity attached to you that is hard to relinquish. And now with Keyshawn Davis, it's even been further enforced that this is going to be something that's used against him in his shine, in his viability, in his growth as a star, because you ran into the same problem that you told us you would never have happen to you again, which is you missed weight. And with all the talking, with all the calling out, with you calling out Loma, with you calling out 140, with you calling out now Lamar Roach, with you calling out Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, 135 to 147, you've been saying names all left, right, and center. We don't even know where you're going to stay. And so you're kind of frustrated because you're just naming names, but you ain't fighting nobody. Well, now it seems like we know where you're going to be fighting next because they ain't going to be at 140 no more. We can kiss Lamar Roach goodbye. We can kiss that fight goodbye. We can kiss Isaac Cruz goodbye. We can kiss anybody, any of those fights goodbye. After this, he better not come back down to 140 unless he runs into the same issue again. This is why I said you need to make a decision. It seems like the decision now has been made for him. Or rather, it's going to be made for him after this fight because he's struggling again to make weight. Also, yo, Legendary, what's going on? Super Saiyan, how you doing? We appreciate you on our show. Good to see you and thank you so much for showing up on our live stream. We appreciate the love and support. We love all of you all joining in on the chat. Please keep on liking the stream. One like makes a world of difference, and sharing the show with a whole host of people all around the globe helps us to grow as a community. And the more you like, the more people show up and the more they like. And then it's a compounding investment. I think our record's like 22 likes on a stream. Let's see if we can break it while we are here. But we want to hear from you in all regards of our show, because it's still the championship rounds. Don't forget, it's still you all's opportunity to say whatever you want and debate and discuss and talk about anything surrounding the boxing world and beyond. Right now, we're reacting to the news that Keyshawn Davis has missed weight to all bright and got 2 hours to make weight for the fight as he sheds off 0.2 pounds of the 140-pound limit to make sure he can be on for that fight. That's the biggest thing. And now we're reacting to this bled into the talking points from yesterday about Keyshawn. Where is he going to fight? And we had mentioned Lamont Roach, and the reason why I brought him up because of the fact that if you did not know, we had seen Keyshawn Davis call out the likes of everybody under the sun, and including most recently calling out Lamont Roach as well as a fight that he would want while in the midst of the whole diatribe of I want to fight Lomachenko, Devin Haney, and all these other names. He is also now slated, or had stated before today, that the brother also wanted to fight the likes of Lamont. And I'll let him tell you right here as we transition over into the world of picture and picture. Yes, indeed. In this fight, even though he may have been calling anybody out, it's up in smoke now. And it should, but if you didn't hear this, it's the reason why I bring it up. And I'm going to play it for you right after. Or I'm going to play it for you now. I'm not bringing this up just for nothing. Because it does mean something. It does.
I think I stopped Lamont. I think I stopped Lamont Roach. Nah, for real. Like, I think I really would stop Lamont. He's a good fighter, though. And I feel like that's a fight that's going to got there. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, Lamont, take the fight, bro.
Well, again, calls him out, says he wants it, says he'll knock him out. However, don't take the fight, Lamont, because apparently the brother ain't in your weight class. Like, talk about him take the fight. Hey, brother, you make the weight for the fight. Because again, like all of these, and this is frustrating because 140 was laden with a plethora of possibilities that you could have had at your disposal to fight against. Again, Jermaine Ortiz, Dalton Smith, Isaac Cruz, Lamont Roach. You had names on names on names. There wasn't Shakur that could have helped bolster your resume, giving you an even better prospect of public marketability and made you a legit great star. And now, it's all of these threats seem in vain because you can't even get up to snuff. Let me see, Brian Norman Jr. missed weight too. See, like, what is going on? What the world? What is going on? For real, like for real. I'm serious. What is going on right now? What the world is going on? What? Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. It really is. It really is, and I play this because this is almost. I play that sound, the THX sound, because that crescendo swelling of kind of a climax moment. This is like that in terms of both of these people needed to make some real statements and put themselves in a position to succeed where no hiccups were involved, and now there's a bunch of hiccups involved. More importantly than anything else, this fight for both of these people wasn't just a make-up to get back in good standings. This is the very problem that we were talking about with why fighters need to fight where they're supposed to be at. Because now, Keyshawn Davis missing weight, saying Lamont Roach take the fight. Well, apparently you need to fight where you should be actually at. Brian Norman Jr., he's been at 147 for a good couple years. But again, the brother was only 24 years old as a world champion. He is still growing. And so it makes sense that, yeah, about this time, I can imagine he's going to grow out of this division. And it seems like that time is now. But this is why the rules of making it so that if you miss weight, you can only do it twice or else you can't fight in that division anymore, similar to Japan, or something more sustainably or something more consistent to make it so that fighters have to fight where their weight is, whether it is with how rehydration works, whether it is the strictness of said weight clause, elevated situation and fines, whatever the case may be, to make it so that we get fighters fighting where they're actually supposed to be at. Because now this is all about confirmed for me. Brian Norman should be moving up. And Keyshawn Davis should be fighting between 147 and 154. That's what it should be. And I think I brought this up yesterday. But this is why I was saying Keyshawn versus Boots is a fight that I could see happening. Keyshawn versus Boots is a fight that I would love to see. It's a fight that I would love to witness. It's a fight that, for me, would be a great clash of styles, power, and everything else in between. But it's also because the brother's getting bigger by the minute. And he cannot slim himself down. Just like with Devin Haney, just like with Shakur, he's got to start opening up to where his body can actually function. And it ain't here. Or where he can comfortably be what he needs to be without any stress or issue. And this is the time to move. He's got to. Because it's one of his biggest advantages that he is such a big fighter. At the same breath, it's also one of the biggest problems. Because now because you try to fight small and what you need to be, your reputation is going to be taking a hit. It's going to be taking, sadly, yeah. It's going to be taking a hit, which is a shame, but it is what it is. But either way, we just got more stuff to talk about in the boxing world. And speaking of which, even while we're talking about this whole conversation, Brian Norman Jr., also, who missed weight. We need to discuss him as well as in this situation against Wagner. He's going to take the fine. He's going to take the hit. I believe the fight is still going to be going on. But now at this point, the expectation has to be Brian Norman knocks out Wagner. It has to be. Now that you coming in overweight, you got more power than you've ever seen before. And if this is your last stint at this division of 147 as well, well, you need to come through and make a big splash. Because now it's like I'm sorry. I'm not trying to lose my train of thought. I'm just upset because we don't have to run into these situations. These types of things brings up unnecessary, or rather unwanted conversations about the fighters at hand that should not be conversations that need to be had. That's and I understand making weight, absolutely, but I also understand it's the toughest thing in the world. It's one of the hardest things out there. It's stressful on the body and the mind. It's taxing on the very makeup. It's one of the biggest tests of the mental makeup of what a fighter is, no question. But the end result of that fight before the fight, with you making weight, it does say something indicative about your position, and it's in this sport. You're the position in this division, and it sets up like I said before, an identity. It causes people to change how they feel about the fight. And I don't want that to be the case for any of these guys. But I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to transpire. And so, because they both are this big, they need to be able to go and put on performance. They're like, okay, hey, if you let me really eke up to my full weight, oh, I'm destructive. And then also it helps to quell the whole issues or the bad press that's gonna come from you missing weight. Cause it's a shame. My gosh, I mean that is great day in the morning. Well, now at this point, see, I had so much stuff I want to discuss involving Keyshawn with him at 140, him and Shakur potentially ruling the division together. It's why we had Shakur on the thumbnail as to who could be the potential more dominant champion, and both of them reigned with each other. And could it be like a Klitschko situation? I was going to talk about that. It was going to, I was, this kind of just threw a wrench in the system. Brian Norman versus Devin Haney. I was going to say this fight could be a situation that we get to see Brian Norman, the first time back, his opportunity to go and shine and show the recalibration of what he is as a fighter up against Wagner, to see if he's learned anything from Devin Haney. To potentially say, okay, hey, the first time you fought me, that wasn't the best me. Now I'm with a guy that's actually bringing out the best in me. I'm with a coach that's actually working to mold me to be a better boxer, not just a power puncher, not just an aggressive, hard-hitting fighter. And now I'm a different beast. Let's run it back. Or Brian Norman, Ryan Garcia. Let's run it back. Let's get some stuff going. So that was supposed to be part of the conversation. We can still have it. But just missing weight, it just messes up. It just skews it. Because now we have to look at a whole nother instance. Because now we have to look at, okay, if he missed weight and this is, his body just can't take it. We got to flip the script and say, okay, Brian Norman at 154. What can he do? If he has to go up to 154 straight up, because now, whether we think he's ready or not, the prospect of he needs to move is here. It's here. It's here. It's here. Whether we think he's ready or not, for both of these people, Keyshawn and Brian Norman, they got to move up now. Or the prospect of the next division is now in the very immediate rearview mirror. More than that, they're coming up on a stop sign saying you need to change lanes. So how can they compete? How can they deal with that level of size at that higher weight? Specifically Brian Norman Jr. at 147. How in the world is he going to be able to withstand what that deep breadth of talent is with what he showed at Brian Norman moving up to 154 after missing weight at 147. If this is a indicative sign that he does need to move up, how is he going to deal with that level of power and skill at the deepest division in boxing? Do we think that his ability that's going to be honed in and molded with this new trainer, with this new coach, is going to actually be sufficient? Because now we have to say he may just be thrust into that very position. Very well may be. He's going to be straight up in the midst of a Barinchik, of an Adams, of a Boachuk. Not Barinchik, excuse me. Boachuk. I don't know why I said Barinchik. Boachuk. John Adams. Majimov. Boots. Fundor. Shoot, even Keith Thurman. Errol Spence Jr., Bakram, Murtazali. These types of names are now in the potential immediate vicinity of Brian Norman the next time he steps inside the ring. Because he can very well announce right after this fight with Wagner, yeah, I'm moving up. I can't stay down here. I've outgrown this division. Now I got to go and elevate forward. So, if that does come into play, I don't know how he takes it. I don't know how he deals with it. I really don't. That, shoot. I didn't expect it. And just like I said with Keyshawn, same thing for Brian Norman. He's going to have to get a knockout to go and wipe away the remnants of damage that are going to be incurred on his reputation. because this fight. It's not negotiable now. Both of them, they have to get a knockout. They gotta look spectacular. They have to look insane. Insane in the ring. To make people not lament the fact that they both missed weight. And to them, y'all aren't being as disciplined as you're supposed to be. And so they're gonna need a great performance. Now, I'm gonna say this. I had Tank as a thumbnail. And y'all see Tank Davis, and he's also in the title. One of the questions was, is he vulnerable? Is he legitimately vulnerable? Is he in danger of being beat now more than ever by a plethora of names that are more vast in array and better than they were when they were initially put in the reins of Tank versus them? This conversation is coming up because off the backs of what we saw with Tank Davis in the poll, when y'all said that Lomachenko off retirement would be the most likely to beat Tank out of everybody else that's potentially on his radar. That made me ask the question, is Tank in some legitimate danger of he can be beaten by a lot more names than we may realize? Is Tank in a vulnerable state that he hasn't been in before, where he is no longer, for not just for a select few, but for the vast array of fighters at the top level? Even at 140, he is no longer the given favored fighter. I mean, he's favored, don't get me wrong, where it's like, yeah, people think he's going to win. But in terms of the same level of confidence in Tank against everybody else, has that shifted and changed so that people may not be as confident anymore? People in his division or beyond, that it could be he is able to be beat by more than just Shakur or Keyshawn or even the former pound-for-pound best in the world in Lomachenko. Outside of this narrow scope of talent that most people saw that can only even sniff the shoelaces of Tank, now there's a lot more people than we realize standing eye to eye with Tank Davis. Keyshawn was going to be one of those names that we had brought up as to if this fight actually did happen. If he came back down to 135 or Tank came up to 140, could this be a situation? Now, with the whole weight missing situation, it may be that he's too big because he got to go up to 147. And then, well, it is what it is, hypothetically. Even still, even without the likes of Keyshawn Davis, could Gary Antoine Russell give him some trouble for year before? More importantly, could Abdullah Mason within his own division actually be in a position to where he may be able to beat Tank? Now, I know Abdul's incredibly young. Abdul's incredibly still learning on the job. We understand completely. We get the experience, technical prowess. All of that is in Tank's favor, understandably. Understandably. But I bring that name up as one of the other names also because one of the things that you need to beat Tank is a chin. If you ain't got nothing else, you at least need to have a chin to be able to go and make this fight hard. Because if Tank can't knock you out, life becomes a lot harder for him. This ain't me trying to cast aspersion. I'm saying we've seen this. Eastside Cruz, one of his hardest fights, he couldn't knock him out. And could Jared say he couldn't hurt him like he thought he could, or like he thought he would be able to? Next thing you know, now it made that fight and the struggle of trying to pull away, even though he still did it, a lot more difficult. Lamont Roach stood toe-to-toe in 8 flush shots from Tank without faltering and kept pushing. Yes, he was still boxing with him in the pocket. He was still fighting with him in the mid-range. He was still showing, and did show, incredible levels of skill. Absolutely. No question about it. However, that still didn't change the fact that when it came to Tank and him, when Tank couldn't put him down, all of a sudden, this fight, especially later rounds, got very sticky. taking the punishment of a Tank Davis for a lot of people seems impossible. But if it is possible, it greatly advances your ability to potentially do some hurt and have some success of your own. And with all the skills that we've been saying that Abdullah Mason has garnered and is going to garner as he continues to grow, and what answers what questions he's already answered with his propensity of not just skill but grit and heart that he showed against Sam Noakes, one of the heaviest hitters at 135 outright, regardless of where he's from or regardless of his skill level. There may be some better validity. It may not be that it may be a more entertaining chance for Abdullah Mason to have a shot at beating Tank than we may have realized. Because like I said yesterday, the gap between Tank and the rest of the globe that formerly was so big that it was off the screen. Formerly it was so big that there wasn't unless you were, again, Terrence Crawford, Usyk, or the likes of Naoya Inoue, people were saying, there's nothing you can do. You're gonna get stopped. You can't handle that at all. But now, like I said, Lamont being a blueprint caused people to look up and say, maybe this ain't too far-fetched. And maybe the separation is actually able to be met by people with certain intangible and tangible skill sets. And Abdullah may be one of them. He really could. And so again, and so I say that to say that for me, Tank, he's vulnerable. He's vulnerable. And I'm not trying to make this a Tank episode. I'm not trying to make this a boring display. We're just harping on one thing or another. I'm not trying to do that. Like I said, we got Zuffa to talk about. We got DAZN. We got all these other stuff. Not saying that, and again, it's still the championship rounds. Don't forget, you all are controlling the whole of this show and conversation. Whatever you want to discuss, you can still bring it out right here. This is the time where on this segment, the entire show is driven by you, the community. That's why we got the banner down low. But right now, when we're looking at Tank as a fighter, this will be the last thing. We cannot look at him in the same way as we've watched him in the past. And we got to get out of that, of looking at Tank as, forget just being the end all be all, but as a wide margin of danger versus everybody else that seemed to be insurmountable and too far to ever cross. Now it's a lot more manageable and a lot more feasible to say that he is not on the same pedestal of grandeur and talent that we formerly had him as. And with this new landscape of fighters, it's more than that he can be beat. It's the fact that the amount of people that can beat him, I believe, are more numbered than people want to give credit to. I do. Without it needing to be somebody's too big or somebody's too tall of a man. I'm talking about within his own threshold of range. 135 to 140. There's a lot more names that we can say they can beat him. There's a lot more names that we can say they can beat him. And I think Abdullah Mason now is in the running for, within about a couple months to potentially a year, he may be firmly in that conversation. He really may be. He really may be. But again, just my food for thought. If you don't agree, please put it in the chat. I want to hear your responses and your opinions on it all. Because trust me, we have so much that we need to discuss. And we want to hear from you on all facets of the world of boxing and beyond. And like I said, we can talk about Keyshawn Davis versus Albright because it's still the championship rounds. We can talk more about the conversation yesterday involving the world of boxing with Lomachenko coming back and versus the other big names. Who do you think can actually transpire? in terms of who he can be. We can also discuss the big things with Devin Haney. If you didn't know about Devin Haney, still rumors are swirling about this whole Zuffa situation and him signing with Zuffa potentially for $100 million. His father went ahead and said it. Now we got Shakur shooting things down. His dad, though, saying that stuff may be actually happening. We got a whole host of different things, conversations, debates, as well as somewhat inconsistencies. There's a lot of volatility going on with this whole Zuffa identity and brand in boxing. And because of that, it can potentially make for a huge payday, not just for two fighters, but for a huge fight. Like with, allegedly, Shakur and Devin Haney. Now, we can talk about the fight itself, how that fight can go, who can win. If that fight did happen, I would say that Devin Haney would lose to Shakur Stevenson. I would. I'd say that today. I would have said it a year ago. I would have said that if they fought tomorrow. Because it's the truth. Shakur is a better fighter than Devin Haney. That's how, if that's $100 million, that's a payday for Shakur. Because he is a better boxer and better fighter than Devin Haney. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's long, he's fast, he's got all the physical gifts, and definitely he is a technical savant. But if it's going to be you playing the game, if that's your game plan and somebody plays it better than you, you have no plan B, even though Shakur does. And he can do what you do better than what you do. So I'm telling you right now, if they ever did fight, Shakur's winning it. I'll make that stake right now. Shakur is winning it. But even bigger than that, would this open up an opportunity, if this is true with this whole Zuffa situation, that there may be more mega fights that get made under Zuffa if they're able to throw around that much money, if they're able to throw around that type of cash to anybody that's a big time star. Because don't forget what they said as a boxing league of what Zuffa Dana White is trying to make. I don't think that's what's going down. I think it's more so they're trying to replace the name boxing with Zuffa boxing, just like it did with the UFC and MMA. And we discussed it before. I'm not going to go too much into detail of a summary. But essentially, they want the brand to be the sport, not the sport to have a brand. PBC is a boxing promotion, but boxing is not the PBC. See what I'm saying? The NBA is basketball. It is both the league, it is a league of the sport, and it is the quintessential identity of the sport itself. The ultimate goal, it is the end game. That is the climax. That is the brand represents the sport synonymously. UFC, the brand represents MMA synonymously. NFL, the brand represents football synonymously. It is one and the same if you bring it up. Even though the sport exists, again, in the UK, in New Zealand, there's football leagues across the globe. But football is the NFL. Zuffa wants to be that, but for boxing. HBO boxing almost had that title for a number of years. When it was as close as you could get to that brand is the sport. HBO boxing is where the sport resides. That's what you can expect. But again, the sport itself exists even without HBO. Zuffa wants to be the UFC of boxing, where boxing is the UFC and everything falls under that umbrella. That goal doesn't make it so it's not a goal to elevate people to the ring or graduate them to a championship level status. It's to make their ring and their championship the only status that matters. And they're not going to do it by just going and getting young talents and young stars. You're going to probably be hearing these big type of deals get made for a lot of other people. and most of the biggest names in the sport, if they become a free agent, they're going to try to take them on and put them in their landscape, not build up a roster. They're going to try to make their whole sect top heavy, so they can have some validity. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. But let me see. But before I continue, let me keep on reading. Shakur versus Haney would be a decent fight. Bet the house on decision. The fight to go over. Oh yeah, no, that fight itself would never be a knockout. Devin Haney would not ever put himself there. And Shakur Stevenson, even if he goes for it, Devin Haney would be too conservative to even give him the chance. He'd be too conservative, especially since Devin Haney would get countered a lot. Because, and here's a quick break. In fact, let me actually make that a separate let me actually make that a separate thing. So I can actually, cause this is a topic that this is a topic I've been wanting to get into for a minute. When it comes to Shakur versus Devin Haney. Yeah. Let's switch it up. Let's talk about the fight itself. Again, I still, like I said, I told y'all we're going to talk about Zuffa on Friday. It is Friday. We are still going to discuss it, but you, the people, control the show. We can talk about this right now. This fight, again, chess match. If you, again, this ain't going to look like what we saw with, Inoue Nakatani. Well, it was high level and both people were taking chances, even though it was a chess match. It ain't going to be a whole bunch of chances being taken in this fight. But that very reason is exactly why it has a capacity to turn into an actual, somewhat action-packed affair. Because if it's a battle of who can beat who in a point-scoring matchup, Shakur wins that 10 times out of 10. He wins that every time. And he would put Devin Haney in a situation where Devin Haney would have to be the aggressor. Because Haney would be behind on the cards and his scoring would not be sufficient to keep him in the lead. It wouldn't. It would not. It could be because Haney is Shakur rather is too good of a counterpuncher. Even when Devin Haney's boxing on the back foot, to make it so that Devin Haney's jab alone would be able to win. It would. And if Haney tries to use other weapons, it's going to be even more opportunities for Shakur to make his jab shine after Haney's jab gets nullified. And it's going to turn ultimately into Devin Haney would have to be the man that steps to Shakur Stevenson. Because Shakur is a front runner. Not Shakur, Haney, front runner. I think even Shakur even said this. Haney's a front runner. Haney's a guy, you fight to win the first 6 to 7 rounds, and then now you just lay back. How can you be? A front runner can't beat me. Because you're not going to win you're not going to win 6 rounds straight on me. That's not happening. And if you do, you got to be something serious, like Terrence Crawford, and you ain't him. You ain't going to win 6 rounds on me and have me down on the cards in the second half of the fight. That's not happening. You cannot beat him as a guy who just relies on the first half of the fight to win the fight, and in the second half, just pad the lead. Doesn't work like that. Not with Shakur. If you don't beat him all 12, you're going to have a time and a half. And more importantly, Devin Haney can't fight in a way that can build up on a lead like he would want to when somebody else is that skilled of a fighter. He can't. Just look at Lomachenko. Look at Lomachenko, a fighter that he should have been able to handle with the greatest of ease with his physical dimensions. He should have been able to be a front runner in that fight and be able to keep Lomachenko ever from touching, but he couldn't. He couldn't. This is with him coming into that fight about 147. Looked like he was 160 on the night. By the time he rehydrated, this is not like we're Devin Haney has not been able to be the what's the word? He hasn't been able to be the unstoppable defensive savant when he's going up against somebody that can think on a level that's at or above his level. Like with Lomachenko. Or physically matches him in dimensions where, oh my gosh, I'm not faster than you. It doesn't work like that. Or it doesn't have this nearly the same level of success. And Shakur, both of those instances, he matches him in. Foot speed, Devin Haney's faster, but in terms of sharpness, utilizing weapons, and being able to read and react, yeah, Shakur's better. And he's a better thinker. So all of that's going to make it so that Devin Haney, by the time the second half of the fight comes, he's going to be on the back burner, down on the cards, and you have to step up to make something happen. And if you got to do that against Shakur, and you're not nearly the offensive powerhouse, Debo, Dev, oh, he's a puncher. Yeah, he's a puncher. What type of offensive fighter is he? He's not throwing a barrage of combinations. He's not setting up shots in a way that is oh so spectacular like a Bam Rodriguez. I'm not saying his offense is bad, but it definitely ain't what you need to beat somebody like a Shakur. Definitely ain't. And so if your offense has to be what's relied on, and you ain't gotten even the offensive firepower that we know you need to have to face off against Shakur Stevenson to make him really sweat, you're going to have a tough time. You're going to have a really tough time. I mean a bad time. And it's going to be a time that you may lose. It's going to be a time that you may lose. Let me see. Shakur wins in my opinion. Love King, Shakur wins in my opinion. But he should fight Lomachenko first, then fight Devin. I would love to see that happen. Shakur versus Loma at 135, potentially for a title. That would be beautiful. That would be beautiful. Now, if you want Loma at his best for that fight, I would hope that Loma doesn't take Shakur as his first fight. But he could. And if he does, so be it. Fine. It is what it is. I would love to see that fight, particularly because I want to see if Shakur can beat Devin Haney. If Shakur can beat Lomachenko decisively. If he can beat him decisively. Because if he can beat him decisively, something that again, outside of T.O., it's been controversial every other time. If he can beat him decisively in a way that Devin Haney could not, and if he doesn't struggle with the same stuff that Devin Haney struggled with against one of the greatest technicians and movers in terms of movement inside the pocket, just all around mastery when it comes to the skills in boxing, Lomachenko is one of the best we've ever seen. He is. From a pugilistic perspective, it's one of the best we've ever seen. If he beats him, that would leave no doubt in my mind that Devin Haney has no chance. None. That would be one of the most impactful, essentially, examples of the level of boxer that Shakur is. That would be one of the most impactful examples of the level of boxer that Shakur is. And that would be confirming what I've been inferring this entire time. Devin Haney is an incredible technical talent. He's not touching Shakur'S. I don't want to hear, oh, Shakur isn't really a defensive fighter. Shakur just jumps back. He's not really using defense and all that stuff. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that because that's just not true. That's just not true. Anybody who tries to say that Shakur Stevenson isn't really a great defensive fighter because all he does is jump back. That's not all he does. Devin Haney jumps back. Shakur Stevenson keeps you where he wants you to be. He's not avoiding danger. He's keeping himself in range while putting you out of opportunity. There's a difference. Devin Haney, he will jump back and he will shell up and he will clinch and he will try to stifle any momentum. Shakur Stevenson, he will jump back when you try to punch. And he will essentially reset the range and then use his jab to consistently score, damage, set up other shots, and cause you to keep on getting desperate and still continuing to use offense that just widens the lead. That is not what Devin Haney does. And that is defense, because there are many people. How many times have we said a fighter shouldn't lean back? How many times have we said somebody leaning back as their main defensive course or jumping back as their main defensive recourse is a problem that's going to get somebody knocked out, and almost every time it happened. Almost every time it's happened. Almost every single time it's happened that way. Somebody got caught. Somebody kept on leaning back. The same defender, Jared Anderson, kept on leaning back. Deontay Wilder kept on leaning back. We keep the same defensive posture happened for people. And they got caught. And they got hurt and or knocked out. But with Shakur, it doesn't happen to him. Because jumping back and or leaning back for him, it is not a negative. It's a positive. It works because what it does for his game plan is not just being away to try to get out the way. It is his range is longer than you expect, and his distance management of I'm not just getting away from you just to get out the way. I'm getting away from you because this is where my domain is strongest. And even with him jumping back, he's only jumping back a half step. He's only jumping back. He ain't jumping back to kingdom come. It's a half step back. Maybe sometimes a full step back. But he's still directly in range to catch you with whatever he wants. And we've seen it countless times before. Teal should have been a perfect example. Teal was literally the perfect example of what his game plan and what his defensive identity creates for himself. And if people say that he's not doing anything special, yes, he is, because you can't do it. You can't do it. People were saying that Ali didn't have great defense because he was just moving his head back. Even though it was phenomenal defense, you just couldn't do it. There is a stark difference that people don't want to understand. That stark difference is exactly why he's going to be able to beat Devin Haney. That's exactly why Shakur will beat Devin Haney. Because Shakur Stevenson is able to do things that were normally Devin Haney will be able to capitalize on. It's not going to be possible. It's not going to be offensive. You still have to land punches in this fight. You still have to land punches in this fight. And if it comes down to two people, when it comes to who can make the other person land less, and routinely, we have seen Shakur stifle and stop all manner of level of opponent. And when I say stop, I mean stop offensively. All manner of level of opponent. Good, great, elite, and bad. In the same widespread way. But with Devin Haney, when he's gotten up to a certain threshold of skill, he was not able to keep that same perfection of defense possible. And he had to start fighting just like everybody else, swinging away, trying to make something happen. And telling you, he ain't gonna be able to do it. He ain't gonna be able to do it because Devin Haney just is not as good of a fighter as Shakur. And one of the biggest things I've been saying, or I've been thinking, and I think it's gonna be the first time I've said it, with all the accolades that we've seen Devin Haney garner in his career, which is incredible, and he doesn't duck smoke, he doesn't run for competition, he doesn't do any of that. I am firmly of the belief that by the time Shakur reaches his peak, because he's still growing as a fighter, by the time Shakur reaches his peak, he will have outclassed Devin Haney. By the time Shakur reaches his peak, he will have outworked Devin Haney. He may not get undisputed, but we're going to look at the body of work as a whole. And he's only, 20, I want to say he's only, 27? So, yeah, let me see. I forget how old he is. 28. He's 28 right now. By the time he hits 31, he is going to be seen probably with a better full body of work than Devin Haney. Or it's going to be looked at in a way that, my gosh, he's at least right there. And I think Devin Haney, how old is Devin Haney? Let me see. I want to see the comparison. Yeah, Devin Haney's 28, 27. Devin Haney started quicker. Absolutely. He took on tests faster. No question about it. That's why I said I'm not diminishing what he's done, because he's accomplished so much more by the same time Shakur is the age that he is. I am not debating that at all. But I am saying from here on out, I guarantee you, Shakur's about to put together a resume that is going to lap a lot of the field, and it's going to catch up to everything that we've seen Devin Haney have. Because while Devin Haney started early, Shakur can still outpace him. He can't. He can't. It sounds lofty, but I'm serious. He can't. He absolutely can't. And because that is the one thing about Shakur, because of his current star power, people would not want to fight Shakur because of that style of quote unquote boring fighter, all this other stuff, even though again it's a lie. He's not really a boring fighter. He just fights in the manner people do. He doesn't fight in the same uber aggressive manner. It's not boring. The biggest boring fight is De Los Santos, but again, that was a one-off for the majority of his career. With his position now, he is a more viable, potent name by himself than Devin Haney. He's on everybody's mind, and wallets will open up because of his status and stature at this current moment. This is with Devin Haney having all of the accolades that he's already garnered. This is going to make it so much easier for fighters that normally would have wanted to stay away from him. They have to fight him not just because he has a belt or he has a title, but also because he will be the biggest money maker that they may have in their careers. So they have no choice but to take this opportunity. Hence, easier to get names on your resume. Hence, easier to put yourself in dominant positions of success, and easier to make you, as the fighter, not just a cash cow of a fighter, but make a collective resume that reaches the skies in the middle of your prime, that can match what we've seen from an early riser in the likes of Devin Haney. It really can. I'm serious, it can. And I think that's what we're going to see. And I'll get skepticism, incredibly skeptical. It's a lot. Trust and believe it. I'm not trying just to go and paint a picture and just say, he's doing too much. I'm being serious. This is a far future type of situation. But I definitely think that's what we can see. I absolutely believe that's what we can see. Absolutely I do. And hey, only time will tell. But it may tell sooner rather than later. Promise you that. I can promise you that. It may tell sooner rather than later. And since we're talking about Devin Haney, and again, still, it's a championship round, just so you all know. It's still you all's opportunity to go and talk about whatever you want to discuss in the boxing world, movie, sports, television, and beyond, NBA, NFL, and everything in between. You can discuss whatever you may like in the world of boxing. Absolutely. We want to hear from you. We want to see you. We want to hear you. We want to have your voice be heard and have yourself be seen for the masses all across the globe. And put your chats in the comment section to have you to answer or rather ask questions. Give me responses. Debate with me. Give your opinions. All that stuff we want to hear from you to tell exactly how you feel on anything that we discuss on today's show. No question about it. But with this landscape, we also wanted to touch on Zuffa a little bit more if we could. And one of the things I wanted to say about Zuffa was Zuffa boxing, before we switch gears, Zuffa type of brand they wanted it to be. Zuffa signing fighters. Zuffa is going to be try to throw money at a whole bunch of people. At least it's my prediction. Could be wrong, could be right. That's what I think is going to happen. Who would be the next man that they could try to throw major dollar signs to? We've already speculated Devin Haney with all the rumors. We've already speculated the likes of Lomachenko with the coming back and being a free agent. They signed Jai Pataya, signed Edgar Berlanga, they signed Richardson Hitchens. Two of them, again, Jai Pataya and Hitchens, former champions. Devin Haney, if this is true, former champion, undisputed. Shakur Stevenson, if they make a fight to sign with him, boom, another big champion. Because again, Shakur shot it down, but it's if it happens. But who would be next? Because they're not trying to build a up-and-coming stable. They're trying to build a stable where they have all the top talent. Who would be the next buddy they may try to sign? And I asked that question because if Devin Haney and Shakur are getting $100 million and they were able to have that type of cash on hand, would it be out the question if Zuffa offered Terrence Crawford some money, upwards of $200 million plus, to potentially come back and fight against somebody? Would that be too far out the mix? Again, crazy conspiracy. Not trying to sound uber, oh my gosh, he's just trying to set something up. I ain't got no inside source, no information. I'm just asking the question because of what type of pockets they have currently right now. What type of revenue they can throw around that could entice a name like that to come back. Even though Terrence Crawford said, yeah, I'm retired, I'm done, I'm not trying to come back and we good. But with the amount of money they may be able to throw, they don't be surprised if they actually if they push to try to get him back. Because this is still Dana White that we're talking about. Same Dana White that was going to pay John Jones a bunch of money. But then, again, reneged on the amount of money that John Jones wanted. But still, there was an offer there. And it's trying to build up this type of brand. It could be that we at least see an offer thrown their way. Potentially. And Terrence Crawford may have $200 million, $250 to come back to fight under their card and regime. It's not likely, but it's possible. Especially because now, apparently there's been a bunch of shots been thrown at Terrence Crawford over the course of last, couple weeks? Which we touched on previously, but now it's getting, I mean, everybody seems to be coming at him now. Lomachenko came back. Why don't you? Boots is going to take over your legacy. Why? You need to come and defend yourself. Terrence Crawford, he came out on video saying, hey, man, people trying to be vague when they talk about me, name drop me. Say that you'll knock me out if that's how you really feel. There's been a lot of jabs thrown his way to try to get him to come back. And for a lot of people, they're trying to stoke the flames of intrigue to make people feel or make Crawford feel a little bit antsy. Because he will jump if he feels like somebody's trying to disrespect him. He's done it before. And it might be all that noise coupled with that money, let alone if they get somebody that's a legit big name to come out and all of a sudden, I'll call you out directly. You ain't nothing, I'm da-da-da-da-da-da. Maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe. Again, maybe. Not saying it's going to be confirmed, but maybe there is an opportunity there to have something take place. But most likely not. But just food for thought. Be on the lookout. Because this is a predatory company. And in this connotation, I'm not saying predatory in a negative sense. I'm saying predatory as in they're opportune. They're very much gung-ho with trying to make stuff shake. They anticipate and vie for people to come through and make stuff happen. They do. They want to put a splash on this sport by any means necessary. Paycheck, not a problem. And that very predatory practice, you trying to shoot the gun, you trying to jump the shark, you trying to bust through a wall, you trying to go and make an impact that leaves everybody saying, oh my gosh. Pulling out these types of stops may not be too much of a factor. May not be. Again, it may not be Terrence Crawford, but it could be names of that like that. This is a lot of money to pass up. I dare not, lest I regret it. Even though it may not work in the long term, trust me, long-term effects of this stuff may be problematic. But initially, the effects of just getting the money, getting the shock and all, yes, Bob, it is definitely viable and feasible. It's definitely viable and feasible. And so they will absolutely, I mean absolutely, be in position. They'll throw some money. They'll throw some cheddar at people. So just don't be surprised. That's all I can say. Just don't be surprised. But even still, we want to hear from you and your thoughts and opinions on the show. Like I said, we may not have as much to cover on this show because a lot of stuff we had covered was over the course of the week. The only other biggest news out here is the fact that Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois are scheduled to have a rematch with each other as Wardley has implemented his rematch clause. There was a rematch clause for that fight. And so apparently now they are going to fight again in this same instance of a matchup between the two for Dubois' now title at heavyweight. And I don't know if this is the right move for Wardley because he's going to have some time to recover. He's going to have a chance to go and regroup himself. But the issue is now he met his match and he got beat. He got knocked out. And he got stopped and his chin failed him. And now he wants to jump back to the fray as quickly as possible. And I already said, yeah, I want to run it back. I understand you do. And I want it to happen. And that fight was so good, who wouldn't want to see it? I mean, for real. Be for real. Who wouldn't want to see that fight? With how good that fight was, who wouldn't want to see that fight happen again for the world to see? That was an incredible bout. That was great. That was phenomenal. That was stupendous. That was like one of the best fights we had in heavyweight for the modern day boxing. Loved it. Back and forth, survivor knockdowns, blood and guts war, complete back and ebb and flow. Worley fighting with his heart on his sleeve. Dubois consistently getting up and tanking the power and turning it into essentially fuel for his own fire. Keeping his pace up and seemingly getting stronger because he had more stamina as Wardley was looking for the Hail Mary shot yet again and just would not quit. It was a fantastic fight. No qualms there. Now I want to see the rematch. My only concern is how much better can Wardley get after this? Because this was the wall that I knew Wardley was going to hit because it's the Joe Joyce formula. You relied on your chin, and it worked up until it didn't. And now that it didn't, you have to regroup and turn yourself into something different. You have to add something more to your game to stifle the problems that got you caught and knocked out in the first place. Now you got to add some skill because you're going up against an elite fighter at the heavyweight division. And you have to come to grips with the fact that your heart is not going to be the thing that can win you today alone. Because it wasn't the thing that won you the day last time. We need to know if he can adapt to add something more. Stamina specifically. But also an even more varied offense, if possible. Once that right hand starts to falter and it's not working in the same way. Again, hard on the sleeve, but it's got to be something extra oomph. Because it can't turn into another Joe Joyce situation, even though he's so young. Because these wars of attrition, man, they add up. They go and they accumulate. They really do, and I don't want to see him broken down potentially too soon. I would have loved it if he took a fight before and then came back and fought Dubois. Hone your skills. Change yourself up a little bit. Get some reps against somebody who maybe isn't Dubois, but is still an opportune fighter to make sure this stuff works. And then you come back to Dubois, and now you do what you need to do. But it can be a concern. Let me see. That was a great heavyweight fight. I can't wait. Oh yeah, no. Trust me, I cannot wait either, and I want to see it. No question about it, because that fight was phenomenal. It was almost a KO. It was. And the fight was almost a KO in the first round. That's the thing. And the power still. Nothing about Wardley didn't show up in that fight. It was the most Wardley Fabio Wardley we had ever seen. It was the quintessential type of fight that Fabio Wardley would want. That's what he thrives on. That's what he desires. It's just the fact that there's got to be more to it. That's all. That's simply all I'm saying. There's got to be more to it than just that. Because this baseline of action is gonna it's against Dubois specifically. I just don't see it working in a way that can be viable. Because if Dubois ate his best shots, I'm trying to think what else could Wardley do. Because he had him in trouble. He had him on the ropes. He had him taking a knee. He had the first half of the fight, or the first rounds of the fight, where he almost had him out. And it was done. But now, the next time out, his speed, because he's a faster puncher than Dubois, his speed didn't make a difference in this fight. His power wasn't enough to seal the deal even when it didn't land. And his chin is the one that is now in question when it comes to Dubois. Because, yeah, Dubois' chin may have cracked, but yours, it cracked more. He's had some chips in his wall. He's been pushed and broken. But now you see it still stood up, and your wall that was supposed to be impenetrable got chiseled away for the first time. And there was no answer. There was no defensive mechanics. There was nothing that was able to be done outside of swing and throw, hope and pray, gut it out. And again, it's the UK Deontay Wilder. That's what that is. And I'm not saying this negatively. I'm saying this is the same type of holdup. And crazy enough, he's more skilled than Deontay Wilder was from the standpoint of ability. Even though he's still learning on the job. He shows more in his style than Deontay Wilder did. Even though Wardley still isn't a great technical fighter. But what that doesn't change is the fact that it's not enough. He's got to add some better defense. He's got to better manage how he goes about this fight. Because he looks athletic. He doesn't look as sloppy as these other heavyweights in the division. Physically. He looks pretty decently put together when it comes to taking care of your body. He's a big dude, don't get me wrong, still. But like he looks fit. But he's running into the same problem that every other heavyweight in this division has had. He doesn't have a gas tank. Doesn't have a gas tank. And he doesn't have enough technical discipline to keep himself sharp even when he's fighting through fatigue. It's tough, but you got to do it, because if you don't, you're going right into the same situation. Your hands are down. You're throwing and you're sucking air. And you're leaving yourself vulnerable because you can't carry yourself past round 7. That is a problem that every heavyweight in this landscape, outside of a few, has had and has. And Wardley can be different. And he looks like he should be different. But he literally punches himself out. He literally punches himself out because of how ferocious he throws, which I love the dedication and commitment to his shots, but also you got to better manage it at this level, because it's not gonna carry you. Let me see. Anyone can get hurt in boxing. You agree, right? Or are some chins just too strong to hurt no matter who hits them? No, you're right. Anybody can get hurt. It's not about the fact that anybody's vulnerable. There are some chins, however. Gennady Golovkin, Marvin Hagler, Canelo Alvarez, crazy enough in the modern day. Their chin, it's just that good. It's just that good. And also, they don't let themselves get tagged. See, and I think we've talked about this before. You might peel out, you might not have been there. Also, peel out, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on our live stream today. We're glad that you're back. Welcome to the show. It's the championship rounds on our show. Like I said, we've been talking a lot. Low-key, it's a little bit of a slow day. We talked about Zuffa. We talked about Keyshawn Davis and Albright. We talked about Brian Norman Jr. versus Wagner. Both of them missed weight on their weight cut for this fight. So the whole reactions to that, we talked about it all. Talked about Tank, Devin, Haney, Shakur. We can talk about anything else that you want to discuss. No question about it. However, this is a good question to ask when it comes to, are some chin to just, you can't do anything with. It's not that every chin cannot be hurt. Even the strongest of chins, yes, they can be damaged. The difference is the protection of said chin to make that damage not build up to go and ultimately be your demise. Essentially, how do you protect the stone from getting chiseled away? A granite chin is a granite chin, no question about it. At the same breath, it is, you don't want to put it out there. The best chins aren't just, oh, he can take a punch and he doesn't get caught or cracked at all. Mike Tyson had an iron chin. Ali had one of the greatest chins we've seen in boxing history. Joe Frazier. George Foreman in the second half of his career. In terms of where, but I say the second half specifically because of the defense got better in the second half. But as a whole, his chin for his whole career, it was like iron. Very few could hurt him at all. Knocking him down was like Ron Lyle. That was a spectacle. Ali knocking him out, but nobody thought that was ever going to happen. You know, our Arturo Gotti, Mickey Ward, they got chins and hearts of lions. But it's not just about taking the punch that makes your chin so great. It's the fact that you're able to not get rocked or shaken when you take punches because your chin also isn't available to get hit as much. Isak Cruz got an iron chin, but also he doesn't use that as the first line of defense. Every chin that's great can be knocked down and cut away. There is no stone in the world that you cannot erode. There is no tree that is not susceptible to rotting away or getting enough battered damage from the environment to make it topple. There is no car that is durable enough that it will survive every crash. What makes a chin great is the fact that it's a last line of defense that can make you, if you do get caught, I can take it and run. That's fine. The biggest thing is who keeps their asset longer? Who keeps their asset longer? Who can allow for their chin to keep its wholeness without exposing it to so much damage that it eventually does crack? Because you want your chin to be, you can tag me and I won't feel it, but I'm not using my chin as the main source of, I'm blocking the punches with my face. Every fight. Tyson's defense also made his chin great because he wasn't getting touched nearly as much in the early half of his career when he was doing all the head movement and all the customado Kevon Rooney training. And that philosophy of the peekaboo style. Ali, he wasn't getting hit much at all. And if he did get caught, he could take it. But he also wasn't exposing his chin to damage because he was so good elusively. Floyd Mayweather got rocked. Y'all forget that. Floyd Mayweather been rocked a couple times. But why was it so hard to beat him? Because, he could recover after taking a punch, and he protected his chin from getting touched in the first place. So, yes, a great chin is supposed to be, sometimes you just don't have enough power to damage it. Absolutely. Some people, there is a threshold that you need to actually hurt somebody. No question. But that doesn't mean that that threshold cannot come at any time. Because a right punch that lands, it can put somebody out. The danger is a true test of somebody's chin isn't just can they take a punch. It is how well they can protect that asset. So the last resort of barrier doesn't become the main source of defense. Because it can be a great chin, but it may not last long because it kept getting chiseled away. It kept getting chiseled away. And because it kept getting chiseled away, eventually, something's going to break it. Something's going to break it. Let me see. Guys that know how to roll with punches have good chins. No, they do. They do. And because I've always, and that's why I've always been so prevalent about defensive responsibility. Because I never liked the aspect of you can't hurt him. You just can't do anything with him. I've never liked that because of the fact that, yes, you can if you land right. There are 3 places you can hit a person. And even if you're undersized, you can put somebody out and potentially kill them. The temple, behind the ear, on the chin, back of the head. That's 4. 4 places. You can knock somebody out and it potentially kills them depending on how they land or how your knuckle hits that spot. Chin, temple, behind the ear, and straight up on the back of the head. There is no physical skull that is safe from that. None at all. If you get caught clean there, it may take an elevated level. Absolutely. But I'm telling you, every type of chin, skull, it has a weak point. Subriel Matias is the quintessential explanation of this very dilemma. He had one of the best chins in the world. And he got caught straight on the chin. Straight. He got caught flush against Dalton Smith. A guy that people were saying he doesn't have enough power to knock him out. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And so did others. It's just the fact they couldn't land right. But eventually somebody was going to do it. More importantly, your own chin was going to erode away. Because you exposed it out to the elements. And so for anybody who says somebody has a great chin and it's just, you just can't hurt them. I never liked it. Or rather, I always had a level of pushback to it. Because just taking a punch isn't the only thing that makes you have a great chin. It is the biggest aspect. But my gosh, it is not the only thing. Because how do you keep your chin safe so that it can last long and so that you can continue to sustain punishment? Because you can have a great chin for one fight. And it is a great chin. And the next thing you know, it goes from has to had. Because now you're consistently getting rocked and damaged. And now it becomes a problem. And so, at least, again, that's just me in that regard. But no, chins do exist. And there are chins that some people you got to have an elevated level of power. But no chin is just invulnerable. No chin is just invulnerable. But let me see. I still want to see Pitbull versus Matias. That would be a bloodbath. No, it would. It would. And in that fight, I guarantee you, Pitbull will win. That fight, Pitbull will win. Pitbull, because in that type of come forward type of war where they both standing in front of each other, Pitbull's the sharper puncher. Pitbull's the sharper puncher. And Matias, if Dalton Smith was any indication, he's going down. Or he would go down. Or at least he would get caught so many times in that fight. Because his chin is out there. And seeing a punch come up from underneath when Subriel Matias is so dedicated to trying to land on the head with his arm punches because they do so much damage, yeah, he gonna give up. He gonna give up. The only issue is if Isaac Cruz punches himself out like he did against Valenzuela or against Fierro, where in the later half of the fight, he threw so many power punches that he started getting tired, and you saw the fatigue. If he does that, Subriel's got a chance. Okay, now you can start really pouring it on, and Isaac isn't able to react and come back with a shot of his own like he wants. But if he can pace himself better in that fight, oh yeah, absolutely, Isaac Cruz can beat him. Isaac Cruz can beat Matias. Because Matias isn't gonna get out the way. And he can be set up with shots. It's not just the straights, it's the fact that, yeah, to the body and to the head, hooks can happen. And Isaac is such a dedicated body puncher that he will rip, and then boom, rip up top. And Matias is trying to throw in, and that right hand comes through, trying to land on the guard. Isak ducks down, throws a hook to the body. Matias tries to respond in kind with the left. Next thing you know, boom. Uppercut comes across the chin. And if it don't happen the first time, it's gonna happen the other times. He gonna hit the floor. Or at least he gonna get backed up. He will. So I'd love to see it though. If that fight, my gosh, if that fight was now that's a fight where it was a 15-round affair like they used to do back in the day, man, that would be insane. That would be insane. Let me see. Yeah, Matias basically has no defense. He does the exact thing wrong. He does the exact thing wrong to do. Like you said, just relying on blocking punches with his face. And so, yeah, and you know what? Actually, speaking of which, let me rephrase my statement on what makes a good chin. Let me rephrase it. Because I think I misconstrued it, what I was trying to say. Listening or thinking back to what I said. And it still applies to the real Matias thing. Having a great chin is indeed a real thing. And Matias does, and potentially, depending on the aftermath, did have a great chin. Great chins by themselves exist. And yes, some chins you just can't do anything with unless you have a certain threshold to maximize the ability to go in on the one of those 4 points of the head or straight up just flush shot to rock him. It's like it's like what's it called? What's it called? It's like an RPG. Not the missile, but like a game. Role playing game. You roll the dice, you got percentages of what your attack can do, the amount of likelihood that your attack lands or doesn't land. For some people, it's incredibly hard to do any damage to them. It's like a 1 in 20 chance depending on the enemy. That's what it's like with a chin. The higher your chin density, the less likely it is that something is going to just take you out. It can still happen, but it's incredibly difficult. And you got to be something special, or you got to land the literal picture perfect shot. And even then, it may not be enough. So yes, great chins do exist. I just value the ability to protect that, because the over-reliance of a great chin can cause you to get complacent, and if that gets ruined, you have nothing else. If that gets ruined, you have nothing else. That chin goes away, there's nothing else for you. That's why I am scared for the likes of Matias. Because if your good chin ever goes, you have nothing left. That's really what I was trying to say. I did a bad job of saying it the first time. But that's what I'm really trying to say. A good chin is a great chin. That's it. But if that ever goes away, and that was your only sign of, I can stand up to whatever you dish out to me, you're going to lose and you're going to fail. Because you have no other recourse of anything. You're a sitting duck. You are the most vulnerable man in the ring. The only thing that can get you out of there is that you knock him out. Because now you are, anything now can come and chip away without the use of, oh, you don't meet the threshold. Yes, you do, because you're already fractured. You're already damaged. You're already out of the impenetrable zone. WWE 2K16, 2K26, they got these things called giants. They go through and Andre the Giant, Big Show, all these other big time fighters, Undertaker 96. They go through, they got this purple bar. You can't knock them down until that purple bar goes away because they're so monstrous in size. Cool. Once that bar drops though, next thing you know, that immovability goes out the window. Now, especially if you're a speedy fighter, all of your moves can really take them out without you having to be so big on your own. That's what Mattia is. That's what Joe Joyce. That's what Wardley. All of them can potentially run into. And Wardley can be the most recent recipient. And that's the biggest thing. He may overcorrect. Just like with Joe Joyce, just like with Deontay Wilder, he may overcorrect. He may not just fight and make himself better. He may go completely opposite. He may go completely on the other end of the spectrum and go about his way of doing too much. Going too far out, going too far into the regime of trying to change himself. He messes up everything about his style because now you got to compensate that you can't take a shot anymore. That's what can happen. And that's the biggest career killer for a lot of people. Now you can never get back to where you were because you're so far gone. You can't, we can't even recognize you as the boxer that you were because you went so far left in trying to make yourself different to overcompensate for a lack of chin that, mind you, if you had been more defensively responsible, you would have already built up a quality defense. Or at least some level of real defense that would have better protected you. So that even if your chin ever did get cracked, you could still have something to fall back on. And now you don't. And you don't know how to work around to make yourself better in that regard. And it's a shame. Listen, I pray Mattia's chin is still there after the Smith fight. He has some more entertaining fights out. He does. And I think now that becomes the biggest story. I think now that becomes the biggest story. Now, the next fight he has, people are going to be a lot more confident in throwing with him. This knockout is going to cause a lot more people to be more comfortable throwing and trading with Matias because they may feel they have a power similar to Dalton Smith. And next thing you know, yeah, you know what? At this point in time, if he got him out of there in round 6, was it round 6 or 7 that he got him out of there? I can do a similar thing. Or at least I can build myself up to get there. To put him out or put him in danger in that same way. Because that same combination that he landed, I can land it too. I now know I can be elusive. And if I do need to dig deep, it's a risk, but it's a risk. Normally it was, you don't want to ever take that risk because there's no way to rock, stifle, hurt, damage, or back up Subriel Matias. Now that there is, that risk is viable. It's on the table. This is just like I was talking about with the likes of Shakur. Shakur was a big risk that people don't want to fight because dealing with that is a problem. Now that he's a big star, all of a sudden the risk is worth the reward. This is a different connotation, but it's the same sentiments. The risk of going in the pocket with Matias, if you really feel you got power, and being able to trust yourself to say, I can catch him before he can catch me, it is now viable. It's still incredibly dangerous, but it's a lot more worthwhile now because somebody did the job to get you in that position. Somebody did the job of really breaking down that wall, putting the biggest crack that you can continue to punch at and do more damage than you could have because the granite no longer is a solid foundation, at least not as solid as it used to be. This doesn't mean that anybody can still just go and knock him out. At this point in time, this does not mean that anybody can go and just knock him out. It could be Dalton Smith did the thing. Everybody else, though, you still can't do what he did. It could very well be that. But the reality is, people are going to now try more than ever, because of what was already proven. They're going to try. You know what? You know why I say that? Because I can guarantee you right now, if Canelo Alvarez ever got knocked down and or knocked out, with the amount of people that want to stay away from his power, I can if I'll say even better. If Terrence Crawford had knocked out Canelo instead of just beating Canelo, one, that would have elevated him even further in one of the greatest I've ever seen. Period. But two, what that would have done for the entirety of the super middleweight division is cause everybody that even wanted to use elusiveness as one of their main sources to beat Canelo to take more chances than we had ever seen them take in a fight of that caliber and have an opportunity to go down in the pocket and fight Canelo at his domain. Because all of a sudden, it's a viable option that wasn't there before, nor did it seem even worthwhile trying. Now it is. There's some hope. There's a hole that's already dug out that I can dig a little deeper. My shovel may not be as sharp, but it is, for this type of ground, it's definitely broken up enough. I can do my own damage down here too. I can tunnel my way to a victory because the ground's already been softened up. The dirt has already been displaced. The concrete has already been, to some degree, rocked. It's been maneuvered. There's an opening for me that wasn't there before. And we're talking about Canelo. One of the greatest shins we've had in the modern day boxing, period. One of the greatest shins of all time. Let's be honest. It's one of the greatest shins of all time. It's one of the greatest shins that we've ever seen, regardless of weight class. Because he fought one of the heaviest punchers in middleweight history, Gennady Golovkin, 3 times. He moved up to fight Sergey, even though it was an old Sergey Kovalev, he moved up to fight Sergey Kovalev. Knocked him out while also taking his punches. And then fought Bivol at 175. He fought Terrence Crawford at 168. He's fought, again, Trout, Lara, Kirkland, Floyd Mayweather, Miguel Cotto. He's fought names aplenty. And in those names, there's been some very powerful punchers. And he hasn't been put in a bad state against any of them. Almost any of them. Again, Crawford rocked him in the last 10 seconds of round 12. Yes, he did. But, like, outside of that and one hiccup against the brother of Miguel Cotto, that was it. That was it. But if he ever got, we're talking about that chin. If he got knocked out, the chances people would take against Canelo would be ludicrous because it would have been open. If Gennady Golovkin ever got rocked or knocked down, I guarantee you, people would be a lot more willing to say, I got a shot at putting this brother down potentially. I'll take the chance. I'll take it. And so, it doesn't mean that it's going to, I said all that to say, Subriel Matias, it doesn't mean that Matias' chin is going to fail permanently. This could just be, yeah, a man with enough power caught him, and it was going to happen eventually. And everybody else may not be able to do the same thing, but the vulnerability is there. And that same well is going to be dug into by every other opponent that even feasibly thinks that they can go and do something with them. Because now you're seen as you may not be damaged goods, but somebody damaged you. And so your chin's still good, but there is an opening for success that I can take advantage of. So I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try. That's what we're going to see Subriel deal with. People going to start trying him in a way that he ain't been tried before. It is. They're going to start trying him in a way that he ain't been tried before. They're going to push him to a way that he ain't been pushed at before. Since that's the case, hey man, it's going to make for some entertaining fights, but boy, they're going to step to him. I guarantee you, they will be stepping to him. But either way, even still, we want to talk more on this show. Now, again, we don't want to drag this show on. We don't want to go and just overstay our welcome with the amount of content and the amount of stuff that we can talk about. It's been a relatively outside of the Keyshawn Davis and Albright news, as well as the Brian Norman news. A little bit of a slow day in the world of boxing and sports at this point in time. And so again, you all can bring up other conversations about about whatever in the world of sports you want to discuss, even outside of the boxing realm specifically. Unless you want to go and reevaluate other conversations, like with the Lomachenko conversation, like with the Duper conversation, like with the Devin Haney or Shakur conversations, like with, again, more stuff on Brian Norman, more stuff on the likes of Tank Davis and his viability to be beat against other opportune fighters within 135 or 140, which, if you didn't hear that, we were talking about how Tank is able to be beat now by more by more fighters than people want to give credit to, like with a potential Abdullah Mason within the next year, or others like even Schofield can be not just a wide scope of you can't deal with him. Even though I think, he's going to beat him. There should be a level of, I'm not going to call it concern, but a more feasible, closer introspection as to the gap between them and everybody else, specifically Tank and everybody else at 135 and 140. That he is more vulnerable and more in danger of being beat by all the fighters that he avoided, because all of them are better. And it looks like Tank isn't necessarily improving as a fighter. So even though the gap may be wide, people, as we've seen, are starting to catch up in skill to him, even if he's better. It's a Canelo paradox. Canelo didn't fight Benavidez. Benavidez was beatable at the time that Canelo had fought him. However, now, it's not the case anymore. And Canelo is not better than Benavidez, because Benavidez was catching up to Canelo, and Canelo was not improving, even though he was at his best. Now, you've gone down, he's gone up, and everybody sees, there's a power imbalance now on the other end of the spectrum. That's what I'm saying that can happen with Tank, in my humble opinion. That's what I think is starting to happen with Tank, in some regards. But that and more we have been discussing. But if there's nothing else anybody wants to say, like I said, we ain't going to overstay our welcome. We're going to go and wrap the show up, sitting at home, and getting on out of this. We're going to do a last call for the world of boxing and beyond. And I probably should have paced out some of my content that we had over the week, because we went through the ringer on a lot of stuff. But I want, again, like I said, we're going to play it smart. We don't want to go and overstay what we got going on. We're going to end this show unless somebody else has something that they want to say, because I think that's all the news I got covered on the day. Like I said, my predictions for this fight, Brian Norman, Albright, if you didn't hear what I said earlier in the week, I got Norman beating Wagner. I got Keyshawn knocking out Albright. Both of them should knock him out. Both of them need to knock out their opponents, because if they don't, this whole missing weight situation is going to go and follow them and be very stressful, and already hurt reputation, or rather hurt even further the already damaged reputation because of said missing weight and all the things that's going to swirl around it. So they both need dominant performances to quiet the noise, because I guarantee you it is going to be loud. Oh, yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will. It will be loud. It will be copious. It will be deafening in many respects. And so we can't wait to see how that goes over the weekend. We can't wait to see more action with you all. If nobody else has anything they want to say, we're going to wrap it up and send it home and get on out of here. Hopefully I entertained you on today's episode. Again, I'm sorry, it wasn't as action-packed. It wasn't as much copious content as we normally have. But don't worry. Come next week, we're going to fix that real quick, because we're going to have a lot of storylines, a whole lot of content, and a whole plethora of conversation to discuss over the course of this weekend's action and beyond. Because mark my words, you're going to want to be here for this. And I got a feeling that some stuff's going to start breaking real soon, real quick, about a lot of things we've been talking about and beyond on this show. But with all that being said, we're going to wrap this show up and send it home and get on out of here. So with all of that in mind, this has been another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. We appreciate you joining in on our live stream today. We hope that we have made your day a little bit brighter, a little bit better, a little more fun, and a little bit more enjoyable as you spent the day with us on our show this Friday afternoon. We appreciate everybody who came in and chatted on our live stream and tuned in to our show. You all mean the world to me. You all are wonderful. You all are incredible. And in everything we do, we appreciate you. We try to give you the best that we possibly can on every show that we try to make. And again, trust and believe, we're gonna keep on giving you the quality to the best of our ability every time out on this show, because we don't take you all for granted. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and chatted on our stream. Y'all help make this show oh so spectacular, oh so wonderful, and absolutely incredible. The pound best chatters on this show, I think number 1 was Peel Out, number 2 was Love King, number 3 was Legendary Jackson. Yeah, I think that were the top 3 actually for the stream. So congratulations to you all. Can you retain your records and rankings? On next week's episode, we will find out. Absolutely, we won't be able to live stream the weekend's action with Albright and Keyshawn, but we will be back on Tuesday talking about that and so much more on our show with you all. Next week. We can't wait to see you there. Leave a like on the video before you leave. Keep on commenting your thoughts and opinions on what you liked or didn't like about the show, so we can keep on improving our show for you all to witness and enjoy. Please, if you can, one more time, one like makes a world of difference and helps us push our shows out to the algorithms all across the globe. Subscribe to the channel and join the empire if you haven't already. And please be sure to do the 2 most important things, which is, if you can't support the channel, we got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, super chat, super gifts, stickers, and the like, all by the chat box. If you can support this channel monetarily, it would mean the world to me. Any amount will do. Help me pay the bills and help us to go through and invest into the show even more, so to have you all have an even more enjoyable time to make the show bigger, better, and stronger for your viewing and listening pleasure. And please share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together and growing as a community and as a channel. And we appreciate all of you tuning in with us. I've been Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Be safe, be blessed, peace, and love. Oh, we are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We're going to see you all on Tuesday afternoon. Peace and love. And we are out of here.